Ladies and gentlemen, I gotta tell you something today. I used to watch Muslims pray and think, why all that movement? Why they putting their heads on the ground 5 times a day? What's all this about? But now it makes sense. Let me break this down for you. You see, in life we all need something that grounds us. Some folks chase money, some chase fame. Some drown in distractions just to numb the pain. But when you see a Muslim drop everything, I mean everything, just to stand up, bow down, and touch their forehead to the floor, that ain't just a routine, that's discipline, that's devotion, that's direction. They ain't doing it for likes. They ain't doing it to impress you. They're doing it because they believe they're standing in front of the creator of the universe. And let me tell you something. We spend so much time bowed down to our phones, our bills, our stress, but they bow to God. And when they hit that ground, that's not weakness, that's the strongest moment in their day, 'cause they're letting go of ego, pain, pride, and saying, you are greater, I submit, I trust. Now that's power. You see, prayer in Islam, it ain't just words, it's action, it's movement, it's structure, and guess what? It teaches the same thing success does: discipline, consistency, humility, and focus, 5 times a day. You think that's extreme? No, it's a reset. It's a spiritual realignment, like, hey, life got crazy, but let me check in with my Creator. Let me silence this world so I can hear my soul. And the direction. Facing Mecca, that ain't superstition, that's unity. 1 billion people, rich or poor, black or white, CEO or janitor, all facing one direction. You can't get that kind of unity at a family barbecue. So yeah, I used to ask, why do Muslims pray like this? But now it makes sense. It's not just a prayer, it's a lifestyle, it's a compass, it's therapy, it's submission not out of weakness, but out of strength. And I'll leave you with this. In a world that teaches you to chase it's something special when a person stops, drops to the ground and says, I'm not in control, but I know who is. Now that's not just religion, that's purpose, that's peace, that's power. I used to wonder, like a lot of people do, why Muslims pray the way they do. I'd see them bowing, standing, touching their heads to the floor, praying 5 times a day, and I'd think, that's a lot. I didn't understand the point, but then something clicked. I started learning, paying attention, listening, and now it makes sense. In fact, now it blows my mind. First of all, Muslims don't just pray out of habit. They pray because it was directly commanded by God. This wasn't something humans made up. It wasn't voted on or discussed in some religious boardroom. According to Islamic belief, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was taken on a miraculous journey through the heavens called Isra and Miraj, and in that divine encounter, God didn't hand him gold or a secret weapon or political power. He gave him the gift of prayer, not once a week, not just in times of trouble, but 5 times a day. That's how important it was. That's how essential it is to the soul. And I used to think 5 times a day, that's too much. But think about it. We check our phones more than 5 times in 5 minutes. We eat 3 meals, 2 snacks, and spend hours scrolling, swiping, stressing. But we can't take 5 short breaks to center ourselves, to disconnect from the chaos and connect with the one who created it all. See, it's not excessive. It's brilliant. Each prayer has its own time: morning, noon, afternoon, sunset, and night, spread out like spiritual pit stops throughout the day. And every time a Muslim prays, they're not just saying words. They're physically and mentally aligning themselves, standing in humility, bowing in respect, prostrating in total surrender, forehead to the floor. Think about that, putting your face on the ground, in front of no one but God. No pride, no ego, no distractions. That's not weakness. That's strength. That's clarity. That's real connection and the direction. They all face Mecca, not because it's magical, but because it's unifying. No matter where you are in the world, the desert, a high rise, a prison cell, a village hut, you face the same center. Over 1 billion people from every background imaginable, all turning toward one place. That's powerful. That's what unity looks like. And let's be real, in a world this divided, we need more of that. What really blew me away was when I realized the prayer is a full body expression of surrender. It's not just with your lips, it's with your limbs, your spine, your eyes, your heart. It's discipline, it's intention, it's a reminder 5 times a day that you're not God, that you didn't create yourself. That you're being watched over, guided, loved, and that you owe gratitude. Prayer isn't for God's benefit. It's for the human soul, and here's the deep part. Muslims believe that in prostration, they're the closest they can be to God. Not when they're standing proud or speaking loud, but when they're at their lowest, literally, physically lowest. And maybe that's a message for all of us. That sometimes, when life brings you down, it's not punishment. It's positioning. It's an opportunity to get closer to your Creator, to let go of the noise, the control, the constant pressure, and just surrender. The prayer in Islam isn't just about saying words. It's an act that engages the entire being, body, mind, and soul in a deep, disciplined expression of worship. When a Muslim begins their prayer, they aren't simply reciting lines or going through motions. Every part of the body moves with purpose, with awareness, and with meaning. Each movement carries spiritual weight, and each posture reflects an inner state. The beauty of it is that the physical actions of prayer mirror the emotional and spiritual relationship a human being has with their Creator. When a Muslim stands at the beginning of the prayer, they are fully upright, facing a single direction, the Kaaba in Mecca. Hands are raised to the ears in a gesture of saying, I am here, I am ready to listen, I am letting go of the world. This posture symbolizes readiness, attention, and intention. It's not a casual stance. It's the stance of someone about to enter the presence of the one who gave them life. This moment of standing, called qiyam, is an expression of dignity and attentiveness, a reminder to stand tall in faith, even when life tries to wear you down. Then comes the bowing ruku. This is not a full prostration yet. It's a halfway position, bending at the waist with hands on the knees. The back straight, the head lowered, the eyes cast down. This is the physical embodiment of humility. It says, I may stand tall in the world, but before God I lower myself. I acknowledge your greatness and my dependence on you. It's a powerful symbol, especially in a world that constantly tells people to puff up their chests and pretend they have it all figured out. In this moment, the believer says, I don't, and that's okay, because I trust the one who does. But the most powerful posture comes next, Sujood, the prostration. This is where the forehead touches the ground. The lowest part of the body, the head, is placed on the earth. There's no pride here, no ego, just surrender, just truth. In that position, a Muslim is closer to God than at any other time in prayer. And it's not a coincidence, that moment of total vulnerability, when the face touches the floor, when the heart is quiet and the body is still, that's where real connection happens. Because when a person lets go of the illusion of control, they make room for divine presence. The act of lowering oneself is not about humiliation. It's about liberation. It's a reminder that freedom comes not from rising above others, but from submitting to something greater than yourself. The sitting posture between the two prostrations, and again near the end of the prayer, is about reflection and calm. It's a brief moment to pause and breathe, to gather oneself, to sit in peace. It represents balance. Not every moment in life is about standing tall or bowing low. Sometimes you just need to sit with what is, and that's what this moment allows: a chance to acknowledge what's been said, to rest in gratitude, and to prepare for what's next. Together, these movements are more than ritual. They're a kind of choreography for the soul. A Muslim who prays like this 5 times a day is constantly recentering themselves. The body gets trained in discipline. The mind gets cleared of distractions, and the heart is reminded again and again that it belongs to something eternal. The whole process creates a rhythm, a spiritual heartbeat that keeps the believer grounded, focused, and humbled no matter what chaos the outside world throws at them. Prayer becomes not just something they do, but something that shapes who they are. The prayer in Islam is a deep, symbolic experience where every movement carries meaning far beyond the physical. It's not just about speaking to God with the tongue. It's about expressing the entire soul through the body. Each posture in the Muslim prayer, standing, bowing, prostrating, and sitting, mirrors a spiritual state. These aren't just ritual steps. They are powerful symbols of the human journey, the relationship with the Creator, and the inner posture a person strives to carry throughout life. When a Muslim begins the prayer, they stand tall in what is called qiyam. This standing position is not casual or idle. It's a deliberate, respectful posture. The back is straight, the eyes look toward the place of prostration, and the body is aligned in full presence. This moment represents readiness, attentiveness, and respect. In this upright position, the individual recites verses from the Quran, particularly the opening chapter, a dialogue between the worshipper and God. Standing is the position of honor, like someone respectfully presenting themselves to a king. It reflects the human being's dignity, the honor of being able to speak directly to the Creator, and the consciousness of that privilege. It is a reminder that no matter how overwhelming life becomes, a person must always rise up, face their direction with purpose, and stand firm in truth. Then comes the ruku, or bowing. This is where the believer bends forward, placing their hands on their knees, with the back flat and head lowered. This movement represents humility. It's a physical acknowledgement that no matter how powerful or intelligent a person becomes, they are still a servant before their Lord. The bowing symbolizes the human recognition of God's greatness. It is a gesture that strips away arrogance, ego, and self-importance. You bow to no one in this world, not wealth, not fame, not other people, but here. You bow out of love and reverence for the one who gave you life. It teaches the soul to let go of pride, to bend willingly not out of fear, but out of deep respect and surrender. From there, the worshipper moves into Sujood, the prostration, forehead, nose, palms, knees, and toes all touching the ground. This is the most profound and powerful position in the entire prayer. It represents complete submission. In this posture, the highest part of the body, the head, is brought to the lowest point. There is no pride left, no barrier between the heart and the ground. In Sujood, the soul is closest to God. This moment captures the very essence of worship, surrender. It is in this act of lowering oneself, of completely giving in, that the believer feels the most elevated spiritually. Ironically, in going down physically, they rise spiritually. This act humbles the soul, reminding it of where it came from dust and who breathed life into it. In the most vulnerable posture, the human being confesses their need, their gratitude, and their hope. After prostration, the worshipper sits up in tashahhud, a moment of peace, reflection, and testimony. This sitting posture isn't rushed or insignificant. It represents balance and calm. The prayer is not just intensity and surrender, it also includes stillness and presence. In this position, the believer quietly bears witness to their faith, sends blessings upon the Prophet Muhammad, and reflects on the journey of life and death. Sitting between the sujoods, or before ending the prayer, allows space to process what just happened, to transition from the closeness of prostration back into the world with a heart that has been softened and purified. Taken together, these movements form a cycle. You rise, you bow, you fall, you reflect, and then you rise again. It's the story of the human being. It's a conversation, a discipline, and a transformation all at once. Through these actions, Muslims aren't just praying. They are embodying faith with every limb, every breath, and every heartbeat. In every corner of the world, from the skyscrapers of New York to the villages of Indonesia, from the deserts of Arabia to the suburbs of Europe, Muslims rise, bow, and prostrate in exactly the same way. Regardless of language, race, nationality, or social status, their prayer is identical. There are no special versions for the rich or the educated. A king and a janitor, a billionaire and a street cleaner, all stand shoulder to shoulder, performing the same motions, reciting the same verses, facing the same direction, Mecca. This is one of the most striking aspects of Islamic prayer, the unity and equality it creates. In a world obsessed with differences, where people are judged by their skin color, their accent, their income, or the clothes they wear, the Islamic prayer is a radical equalizer. The moment you step into the prayer line, none of those labels matter. You can't tell who's a doctor or a delivery driver. You can't tell who's got millions in the bank and who's struggling to make rent. You're all just worshipers, just souls standing before their Creator. And in that moment, your worth isn't defined by your resume, your appearance, or your social media following. It's defined by your sincerity, your humility, and your connection with God. When Muslims pray in congregation, the rows are formed side by side, without gaps, without hierarchy. No one gets a reserved seat in the front because of their status. The person who arrives first prays in front. The imam, the one who leads the prayer, could be anyone qualified by knowledge and character, not by wealth or fame. This physical alignment reflects a spiritual truth. In the eyes of God, all humans are equal. What sets one apart is not their race, tribe, or background, but their piety and righteousness. It's a powerful message, embedded not in theory, but in daily practice. The direction of prayer toward the Kaaba in Mecca is another unifying element. Muslims across continents all turn their faces toward the same sacred site, regardless of where they are in the world. It's not because Mecca holds magical properties, but because it symbolizes unity and obedience. It's a single point of focus that reminds believers that, no matter where they are or what's going on in the world, they are part of a larger spiritual family. 1 billion individuals united not by politics or ethnicity, but by faith and purpose, turning together in the same direction 5 times a day. Even the recitation during prayer reinforces this unity. The Quran is always recited in Arabic during the ritual prayer, the same language, the same verses, the same phrases of praise, humility, and devotion. You could walk into a mosque in Africa, Asia, or America and hear the same sounds, the same rhythm, the same spiritual language. For someone who doesn't speak Arabic fluently, this might seem limiting, but in fact it's liberating. It removes personal variation and centers the prayer on something universal, timeless, and unchanging. It connects every Muslim to the original revelation and to one another. This kind of spiritual unity is rare in a fragmented world. In society, people are divided by class, language, background, and beliefs. But 5 times a day, Muslims step into a sacred space that cuts through all of that. It is a moment of oneness with God and with each other. It's a daily reminder that beneath the surface of identity, labels, and divisions, we are all the same, human beings in need of mercy, forgiveness, and guidance. In the rows of prayer, there is no first class, no VIP section, no designer prayer rug that puts you closer to God. Just unity, just equality, just souls lined up before the one who created them all. Praying 5 times a day may sound excessive to someone unfamiliar with Islamic practice, but to a Muslim, it's one of the most grounding and transformative parts of life. It's not just a series of repeated rituals, it's a rhythm that brings structure, focus, and peace to the chaos of daily existence. In a world where distractions are endless and the mind is constantly pulled in every direction, the Islamic prayer acts like a spiritual anchor, pulling the believer back to what truly matters again and again. Each of the 5 daily prayers comes at a specific time, deliberately spaced out across the day at dawn, midday, afternoon, sunset, and night. These aren't just random times. They correspond with key transitions in a person's day, the moment of waking up, the middle of work or school, the winding down of the day, the end of sunlight, and the quiet before sleep. These are times when people are naturally prone to stress, forgetfulness, or emotional overwhelm. And right when those moments hit, Islam calls the believer to pause, step away from the noise, and reconnect. It's like a built-in reset button that refreshes the soul before it strays too far. The act of praying at regular intervals trains the mind to become more conscious, more present. It teaches discipline without harshness and mindfulness without the need for silence or solitude. You don't have to go to a retreat or meditate for hours to reconnect with your purpose. You just have to make time to stand before God for a few minutes and be fully there. That's what prayer demands, not perfection, but presence. No matter how messy your day is, how many mistakes you've made, or how distracted your thoughts are, prayer gives you a space to realign. The repetition of prayer also builds a deep spiritual habit. Like any routine, brushing your teeth, working out, journaling, the consistency is what changes you. You may not feel the impact in one prayer, but over time, that routine carves out a stronger sense of self. Prayer becomes a sacred checkpoint, a mirror you look into to examine your heart, your intentions, your behavior. You begin to ask yourself, did I speak kindly today? Did I act with integrity? Was I grateful, or was I bitter and impatient? This reflection isn't forced, it becomes natural, because prayer invites you to return, repeatedly, to your moral compass. Even the physical act of preparing for prayer through ritual washing, called wudu, is part of this mindful process. It's not about cleaning dirt, but about symbolically washing away the mental clutter. Splashing water on your face, hands, and feet isn't just hygienic, it's therapeutic. It signals that you're stepping into something sacred, even if just for a moment. And when you finally place your forehead to the ground, you're not escaping life, you're grounding yourself in the middle of it. Praying 5 times a day doesn't take over a person's life, it enhances it. It trains the heart to stay soft, the mind to stay clear, and the ego to stay humble. It builds a pattern of coming back to God, not once in a while, not only in crisis, but regularly. That's the secret of the routine. It's not about doing something dramatic once. It's about doing something powerful often. With time, prayer becomes more than a task, it becomes a lens. You start seeing life differently. You become slower to anger, quicker to forgive, more aware of your blessings, and more conscious of your responsibilities. In a time when many people are searching for balance, inner peace, and purpose, this simple but profound routine offers exactly that. Not through grand gestures or complex theories, but through consistent connection. 5 times a day, no matter where you are, no matter what's going on. Just you, your Creator, and a quiet moment of truth.